Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Snapmares. My guest at this time is somebody who I met when they just started their career. I met them backstage at an OCW show some 6 years ago, and they were so bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, hopeful for the world, and now she's one of the most terrifying people I've had behind this table. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Charli Evans. Hello. First of all, because it's always a good question to start with, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm nervous, but...
Why are you so nervous?
Oh, Deathmatch.
I mean, it might have something to do with the fact that you're about to kick my friend Joel Bateman into the stratosphere in your, was it Last Orders Deathmatch?
Yeah, Last Drinks Deathmatch.
Oh, goodness me. Well, look, when Joel called you out at our first show for Deathmatch Down Under, I did go to him straight away and go, I cannot wait to watch Charli rip you a new one.
Yeah,
so this will be absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
I'm ready.
I was going to say, but you're a very different person than when I first met you.
Yes.
And I think the thing is that obviously, I remember when I first met you, and obviously I remember when you came over to me because I had an English accent, and I figured at that time you were like, this is an English person involved in wrestling, and I want to go over to England.
Yeah.
What was the appeal about the UK? Because, let's be honest, you're much more a British wrestler than you are an Australian wrestler at this point.
Which is crazy.
Really. Yeah.
So I just found a progress show on YouTube they put up for free and watched it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, and I kind of looked more into British wrestling, and I saw Chris Brooks versus Nixon Newell, and I was like, whoa, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I literally, like, from that point, applied for my visa basically instantly and left maybe a month later.
Oh my God.
Very spur of the moment.
I was going to say, just before you, I had a really awesome chat with Robbie Eagles, and he was talking about the importance of showing that initiative and drive, and that actually that is what separates the successful wrestlers from the less successful wrestlers.
Yeah.
That's actually moving forward in what you want to do.
Yeah.
So when you got over to the UK, I mean, I remember when I first came to Australia, and I didn't have to worry about my wrestling career per se. Right? I just standing in the middle of Melbourne going, now what do I do? And when you land in the UK, how did you actually break into the British scene? I mean, what were those initial steps you took?
It was pretty hard, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was in a good position where I did like know a few people, but it did take quite a long time to be kind of where I wanted to be. So I was very lucky in that I kind of got on Progress straight away.
Yes, I remember seeing you being advertised for a tournament for the #1 contendership for the Progress Women's Championship. Yeah, and you won it.
I did. I did win
like,
it.
wow.
Yeah, so like that was kind of like maybe 3 months after I got there, so that was very quick. But like, it took me a long time to get on places like Fight Club Pro, and that was the kind of place I wanted to be. And it took me 2 years of being there to get a singles match there, and you know, like I had to work really hard, but worked out, I guess.
Well, it has worked out very well for you. I was going to say, when you went over to the UK, how long had you actually been wrestling for by that point? How many years or months had you been involved in wrestling?
On shows, I'd say 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and obviously when you went over there, like I say, you're a very different person now, and I guess there's a sense of evolving. What was that stage of evolving? Did you realise and see in yourself that you needed to evolve to become the persona, the character you are now?
Yeah.
Was there like an outside influence? Did other wrestlers come to you and sort of advise, maybe change this up or tweak this?
I've always been very into like Japanese women's wrestling. So like Bull Nakano is my favourite wrestler ever. And like one of the first things that Chris Brooks ever said to me was like, you should just be Bull Nakano, you should just do a hair, do a like face paint, do like stuff like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I should. And I think when I moved to the UK, especially when I was wrestling here before, I didn't know who I was. I was wearing pink gear, like I was just trying to fit this mould of this is what female wrestlers do. And I think when I moved to the UK, I was like thrown in the deep end with like a lot of like a completely different style, completely new people. I think I just wrestle like a wrestler. Yeah. And it took a while to like be comfortable and confident to do that. But like I was wrestling boys more than I was wrestling girls. And it kind of like it just toughened me up a little bit. And I honestly I don't think I was like really confident with myself as a wrestler until the end of 2019.
Wow, okay, so not really that long ago.
No, not at all. Like I just had this like light bulb moment where I was like, okay, I kind of understand what I'm doing and it just feels right. And that was when I was in Japan.
And just when you feel comfortable, COVID happened.
Yeah,
put the brakes on everything.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about something a little later, but since you brought it up now, I kind of get the vibe, and from speaking to many wrestlers who or female, and they feel the need to fulfill this mold or this idea as to what a women's wrestler is, and that eventually they begin to realise. I think on the last MCW show you were on, I think you were doing a fitness gimmick with Shazza McKenzie. Unfortunately, I had to miss that show. But did you feel it was very relieving when you realised, actually, you don't have to be that you can be,
I think,
as you say, a wrestler?
Yeah, I am just a wrestler, and everyone that wrestles is a wrestler. I've never once heard anyone go, oh, the next match is a man's match. What the fuck do you mean? Like, it's just not, it just doesn't happen, so I don't understand why we need to be like, this is a women's match. No, I'm just wrestling like we all train exactly the same way, and if you don't train the same way, you're at a shit wrestling school and need to go to somewhere that fucking respects you as a human being and doesn't put you in this little box and category and be like, oh, well, you have to do these moves because that's typically what a woman does.
So like a snapmare out of the corner whilst holding the head.
Like it's just like I wrestled Paris De Silva.
Yep.
In the PWA Premiership, and I have the weight advantage to him and the height. Do you know what I mean? Like he's
so why act as if you're the underdog in those means when you're not?
Yeah, and it's just people go and be like, oh, intergender wrestling, all this stuff. I want to kill the term intergender wrestling. That's my goal in wrestling, is just to kill it. It's just two people wrestling that happen to be male or female.
Yeah.
And you know, people wouldn't question Paris De Silva versus Caveman Ugg. They wouldn't question it. Yeah. They wouldn't be like, oh, this is crazy. But if me versus Caveman Ugg happened, they'd be like, oh, a woman.
That's terribly one-sided.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just insane that in 2021 people are still questioning my ability to wrestle.
It's interesting because obviously I've been looking at your Twitter page. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. But I did notice that you really do have this passion for what I like to call sort of zero gender boundaries in wrestling. And it does seem something that you're incredibly passionate about. And obviously currently you're primarily wrestling for PWA at the moment.
Yep.
And obviously one thing that's very, very interesting, their PWWA Championship, which was their women's championship, is now zero gender borders. And it seems like it's actually been a benefit to the promotion. It's been a benefit to the current champion, Jessica Troy, your old mate, and your mate, and of course, I guess to women's wrestling in Australia.
Yeah.
I imagine, and that's probably why you've currently got your eyes set on that championship. At the moment.
Well, I just think, like, especially because we were all trained by Madison Eagles, who is 6'1" and jacked. And she doesn't.
Oh, I wouldn't fancy my chances against Madison Eagles.
Like I like firmly believe she's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and it just like goes to show, you know, like Mika Satomura, who was my trainer when I was in Sendai. You know, she held the Fight Club Pro main title. Like it wasn't even a question about, oh well, she's a girl, she needs to hold the women's belt. We didn't even have one. Yeah. Because we don't need one.
In fact, it's interesting, the timing's been great because obviously with COVID, Caveman Ugg, the current PWA champion, has obviously been stuck outside of Sydney, and it's really allowed the PWWA championship to really be elevated on the shows.
It's been awesome. Like, as much as I would love to have Ugg back and, you know, have him versus Ricky happen, and it is going to happen next week, but like, the fact that Jess has basically carried the company on her back and just, like, shown the whole world, really, how good she is, and I'm not going to deny how good she is because I think she's incredible, but she's literally the face of PWA in my opinion.
I think that's a very fair shout.
Yeah.
And actually I was going to ask about your friendship with Jess, because when I first met you, I also met a young Jess as well at the same time, these two young excitable trainees, and my goodness, you both evolved and moved forward in your careers very separately, but you've elevated yourself. So I wanted to talk about the friendship. So my understanding is that you got involved in wrestling at roughly the same time, or was it even at the same training day?
So she started in January, I started in March.
Wow, okay.
Very close together.
Cool.
And I literally remember, like, clear as day, I was sitting in my car, my parents drove me because I was like 16, 17, and I was like, I'm not getting out of the car. And they drove me like 2 hours as well, so I was pissed. I was like, nah, not for me, big guys out the front. And then I saw, like, literally, like, this memory is, like, ingrained into me. But I saw Jess walk in, and it was like everything was going to be okay. Like, it was like magic, awesome. Like, honestly, and it was like, we just connected straight away, like, on, like, multiple levels, like, and we're such different people, but we, like, somehow just balance each other out. Like, I'm very, like, opinionated and in your face, and she's just this, like, sweet little angel. But
who likes to take people's arms off.
Oh yeah, she's nutter. But But I feel like even when we, separated and I moved over and she went to America for a little bit, like, our careers the whole time have, like, strangely paralleled. It's just in two different worlds.
Yes, of course, you being over in the United Kingdom and her dominating the Australian scene.
Yeah, and it is nice to see that, like, even when it's just me and her, it's always just meant to be me and her, no matter if we're together or apart.
And now it appears that you're both building towards this PWA championship match. I mean, this must be something that... Did you ever think this match was ever going to happen?
I really hoped it did. Like, when I first moved back, my first show back was called Arms, and it was Jess vs. I, and I was so excited, but I was also so fucking angry because it wasn't for the belt.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, so I've just, I did all these really cool things overseas in the UK and in Japan and stuff, and I came back and I was like, oh no, you can just have a non-title match. And then I wrestled her again. It was in a triple threat, me, her and Steph. Again, wasn't for the belt. And it's like, okay, I don't understand what the issue is here because, I've held that title before with her. So where's my rematch? I just wasn't getting it, so I was like, fuck it.
Well, I was going to
I'm going to take it, aren't I? Like,
yeah. Well, it seems like now it's a blood feud.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's going to make the match so much better.
Yeah, well, she seems keen on it. Hit me with a chair last show. Got this gnarly bruise. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of gone now. That was a week and a half ago.
I did see it when you came in.
A week and a half ago. What are you doing?
It seems like you've got lots of little bruises.
Oh, just wait till after the show.
It's good. Yes, indeed. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, but you should see Joel after the match as well.
Yeah,
so it's going to be even worse. Okay.
I'll get him.
Good. He owes me money. No. Now, I want to just take a step back to the UK. As I say, the interview sort of bounced around a little bit. But back in the UK, obviously, whilst you were over there, COVID happened. That must have been one of the hardest decisions you've ever had to make. You've obviously been so successful in the UK scene. You've obviously got this phenomenal tag team going on with Millie McKenzie as well as part of the Medusa Complex. So for you to have to decide, am I moving back to Australia during this time or am I going to stay in the UK? What went through your head? How did you make that decision?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
I remember when COVID first started happening, me and Millie lost 3 bookings, 3 shows got cancelled, and we thought that was the end of the world. We're like, oh, this fucking sucks. Little did we know, I don't even want to think about.
It was going to be a lot worse.
I don't want to think about how many bookings I missed out on, but my mum messaged me and she's like, you should probably come home, and I was like, no, it'll blow over in 3 weeks. It'll be fine.
We all thought that.
Yeah. So I was in lockdown for 2 months in the UK. And I was just on the phone to one of my friends over here, and he's like, we're kind of getting back to normal here. We can go out, and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think it's not getting better in the UK. And I was obviously my full-time job was wrestling.
Yeah.
So I couldn't wrestle. I couldn't make money. I'm just paying rent, paying all these other bills, just losing money. So I was like, okay, yep, cool, let's go. And I literally flew out a day later. All my shit's still there.
Oh, goodness me.
All my stuff's still there. Because I just thought I was...
Who's looking after it all?
Millie.
Okay, bless her.
Yeah,
what a start.
Right? I thought I'd be back by July.
Yeah.
I really did. So I just kind of packed what I needed in a suitcase, did the 2 weeks quarantine.
Yeah. So I'll see you in a few months, and
yeah, I was like, oh, I'll be back soon, don't worry about it. So yeah, it's I'm still not. I still haven't quite dealt with it. I don't think mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it is really hard when I think about it. My whole life, and everyone's lives was affected by this, obviously. But I feel I was just this is what I had, and it's just fucking been ripped in every sense.
And as you said earlier, just as you felt you found your groove.
Yeah, I really think Millie and I would have done really good last year.
Yeah.
Really well, and all I want to do is just be tagging with her again and be back in Japan.
Gotcha.
That's all I want.
Fantastic. So, one last question, because I noticed that you said something on Twitter I thought was very, very interesting. I love it whenever I say Twitter, you go, the anxiety.
I post some funny shit on Twitter. Hilarious shit. I delete it 3 minutes later, but
there's some serious stuff up there as well.
Yeah, there is.
But here's my question. You said, maybe I should move to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Is this something that's really crossing your mind, to come over to the dark side of Australia?
Honestly, yeah. So I haven't been to Melbourne since like I came in 2019 and wrestled Avery, but literally I was here for like 10 hours.
Sure.
And then like the time before that, wrestled Flew Out again. Like I'd never actually like explored the city, and I was walking around like yesterday evening, and I was like, this is a vibe. Like this, I can fuck with this, and it was just cool. Like everyone looked like dresses well, and like there's cool bars and like vegan options.
Oh my god, yeah, Smith and Daughters. If you want a recommendation for a vegan restaurant, that place is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a list.
I bet you do, yeah. There's some phenomenal restaurants there.
Yeah, and it's just cool, isn't it? Like I just feel like I fit in quite well.
Well,
here.
I came to Australia, I came to Melbourne, I was supposed to be here 2 years. It's now been 10, so...
That was me, but Wolverhampton, England.
Oh, goodness me, I know Wolverhampton, so...
I'm so sorry.
Nobody else in the room right now gets that, but trust me, I get that, so...
It's a place. It has character.
It's a place. Let's just end it there.
It has a great emo nightclub. That's all that matters.
Fantastic. Well, Charlie, it's been awesome chatting to you.
Yay.
Obviously, we're filming this just before your death match against Joel Bateman. Let's just presume you win, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And it is great to see you back in Australia, but I
thank
also
you.
hope we can get rid of you back to the UK soon so you can continue dominating along with Millie.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the amazing Charli Evans, and this has been Snapmares.